Good evening and welcome to joining us live here on Performance Link for the Performance Link GT Cup round number 3 here at Silverstone. I am Andy Thompson. I'm joined in the booth by Mr. Dave Whitehouse, and in the production box we got the wonderful Lewis Arara, who's going to give us all of the camera angles for today. Dave, welcome. Obviously we have been in America for the first 2 rounds, and we come back across the pond to the home of the British GP. Silverstone is going to be an interesting race, mate.
Yeah, it's going to be a brilliant race. Silverstone, a circuit we all love and enjoy. Fast corners, complete. I would say the first quick circuit we've been to so far. Only 2 real braking zones in this circuit, down at the loop and down at Club Corner. So it'd be interesting to see what car and what driver combo will come out on top.
Yeah, certainly will be. For tonight, we've got Format B, which is an hour-long race. So the drivers have just finished up a 30-minute practice. Already conducted the qualifying session. So the grid will be made up of the results of that in the individual classes. But before we look at that, let's have a look at the point standings at the moment. Only 2 rounds in. We haven't had the drop rounds yet. But Elliot Hellier heads out the Pro Championship at the moment with 51 points. Fortunately, not able to join us tonight because he has a little bit of the man flu. So hope you get well soon if you listen to us live here, Elliot. You'll be missed on the grids. In second place, we got Matty Chambers from Evo SR, 44 points. Aaron Powell there in third place with 43. Arias Germantus in fourth on 42. Thomas Cope had a bit of a up and down last 2 rounds, so we'll hopefully be putting it to bed here tonight with that win in 5th place. Oscar Christensen in 6th, Scott Mokes in 7th, Matt Loveridge in 8th, Harry Wills in 9th, and the top 10 is Nikolai Frayne. Going over to the Pro-Ams then. And we see heading up that Michael Hooper there after an excellent round at Sebring, pretty much dominating the Pro-Am field there as rocketed himself up to 1st place in the Pro-Am division. Patrick Thompson had a great 2nd place at Sebring as well, which has catapulted him up the leaderboard into 2nd. Russ Fowler there in 3rd was 2nd place at Sebring, suffering a little bit but still keeping him there on point, so extremely close at the top. Tom Stevens in 4th, Tom Bingham in 5th, James Logden in 6th, Max Wolf in 7th, Phil Regan in 8th, Jimmy Vark in 9th place, and Casper Thompson rounding out your top 10 in the Pro-Am. Going over to the Am-field then, Steve Pierce again having an excellent round at Sebring, catapults himself to the lead at the moment, 11 points ahead of Mad Sayer in 2nd, Gordon Haig in 3rd, Darren Doherty in 4th, Joe Sal in 5th, Sander Island in 6th, but that may all change tonight because he is leading out the Am-field here around Silverstone. Chris Rance in 7th, Ovid Bredvik in 8th, Nikolai Gronstrom in 9th, so Simon Milkov in 10th place in the AMs. And we're not finished yet because we have the illustrious rookie class, and leading that, Matthew Gerard after again an excellent result at Sebring. Didn't have it all his own way there, but still managed to come out on top. Rich Jameson Smith in 2nd place, unfortunately not able to attend his home Grand Prix track here tonight. is Rich in second. Paul Joseph Clist in third. Alexander Rhodes in fourth. Lydia Rosa in fifth. Morten Hansen sixth. Jacob Semeski in seventh. Andy Booth in eighth. And Dan Fendick in ninth place there. Obviously, you know, the drop rounds, each driver does have 2 drop rounds to go in to be able to do so. Until them drop rounds come in, the points may change at any notice. But heading over to the team championship, at the top at the moment with a very slender lead is Evo SR Team Bear Pope there in second place, only 3 points. Then a big gap down the third with Sim Norway. Performance Link Esports dropping down the field there, 77 points, only 3 points behind Sim Racing Norway. Evo SR Black just a bit further back. Olympus Esports in 6th, XE Racing 7th, Gigi Alkaman in 8th. In 9th place we got Project Racing, and 10th we've got Nordic Racing. So there rounds out all the current standings that we have for you, our viewers, and it's going to be an interesting track this, Silverstone. Extremely wide. I'm expecting some 3 or 4 wide going into certain corners around here, Dave.
Yeah, it's easily done, especially in sort of down the Wellington Straight and things like that. You get some really interesting attempts at overtaking moves, and as you can see now, the drivers are out in practice, and track limits also comes into effect, especially at Stowe, at the final corner, and around the loop section. So the drivers just have to keep it careful throughout this race. They don't want to start using up unwanted incident points throughout the race and then it coming back to bite them later on. Remember, this is an hour long, so it's a lot of laps around the circuit. I just wanted to look at the chat and say hello to Kev Copeland, who can't join us tonight, so he's watching. So even our drivers want to watch if they can't be here tonight.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, Silverstone's one of them great tracks. I'm expecting some really good overtaking moves, but that first lap, Dave, is going to be extremely treacherous with the tyres and brakes being cold. I mean, you mentioned the 2 big braking points, you know, coming down into village section, turn number 3. That's a very tricky part of the track, and certainly going to be with over 50 cars on this grid on that first lap. So the drivers just need to be aware of that. It's a long lap, so by the end of the lap, the tyres and the brakes should be well and truly warmed up. But you've still got to watch Maggots and Beckett's. That flipping and changing of direction so quickly at high speeds can catch a couple of people out, and that's probably the prime spot when you come out of Beckett's going into Chapel. If you run wide to get in that slowdown, and you really do not want that slowdown coming down the hanging straight, because you will ultimately lose a lot of positions.
Yeah, exactly. That is a crucial part of the circuit. But as you can see, Lewis McLevy running wide there in the Porsche, just so easy to get your braking wrong because the brakes aren't really used for a huge amount of this circuit in a hard capacity. Into that corner, turn 3, you get it at Farm. You also get it at the end of the Hanger Straight into Club Corner. So it's something where you've got to keep your eye on the brakes, especially when you start braking heavily and it's not going to snap round on you. Get your brake bias right through the corners, because that obviously helps through the faster corners. And we'll just see how the racing gets on tonight. Got a nice big field in each of the classes as well, so it'll be interesting. This is a race where if you've had 2 bad rounds, you really need to hit the ground running, because that is your 2 drops left behind, and you need to start scoring some strong points for your championship.
Yeah, it definitely is, but what a great track to get them points back on track. Silverstone, one of them classic, really good tracks, extremely wide track in these GT3 cars, plenty of opportunity for overtaking. But we can see at the top of our screen the average breakdown at each one of the classes there. Pro 3.6k iRacing, the Pro Am around about 2.4k, the AM's 1.9, and then the rookie class is 1.3. So nice even spread across the fields, and obviously we are probably one of the only leagues that I know of that haven't got 4 classes in a new rookie classes, because I think often the AMs get sort of left behind, the lower rating drivers get left behind, and it's good for them to have their own class to fight for some silverware.
Yeah, exactly. It's always good for rookies to get their chance, as we have the grid come up on the screen. And as you can see, it's Thomas Cope who takes pole position for his home race here at Silverstone, ahead of Oscar Christensen. Joining him on the front row, Aris Mantis in third from Scott Mokes. Nikolai Frayne in 5th from Matty Chambers. Aaron Powell and Jacob Behrens in that Ford GT round out row number 4. Dean Powell in 9th, Kim Andre Borkland in 10th, Matt Loveridge in 11th, and the top 12 rounded out by Harry Wills.
Yeah, we go over to the Pro-Ams. Max Wolf heading out the field there. Patrick Thompson in 2nd. Michael Hoopler in 3rd. James Logden in 4th. In Alexander Scorette in 5th. 17th on the field. Bob Humphrey in 6th. Hakon Johnson in 7th. Christian Otto in 8th. Russ Fowler in 9th. Casper Tunson in 10th. Tom Bingham in 11th place. And in 12th place, Phil Regan from XE Racing. 24th on the grid.
Then in 25th overall, we have Jimmy Vark and Daniel Lilovic rounding out that row of the grid, with Tom Stevens and Dean Timms at the back of the Pro-Ams. Top of the Am category, we have Sander Ireland, as Andy mentioned earlier on. Steve Pearce, the championship leader, alongside him from Gordon Haug, David Gill, Nicholas Gronstrom, John Tresidder, Ovid Breivik, and Mads Zur.
Yeah, but we've got Daniels, but you see it again. They're just about to start there, going onto the Hamilton straight as we look down the grid. We'll just get the start of this race, but we'll show you all the grid on the top there, as you saw Matthew Gerard heading out the AMs as they are racing, and Thomas Cope gets a good start. Oscar Christensen there in 2nd, Germantus in 3rd. Pretty much a top 5 staying in the same positions they want as they go through Abbeys and the farm for the very first time. Looking further back at the Pro-Am, Patrick Thompson's managed to get that first place in the Pro-Ams over Wolf in 2nd, Logston in 3rd, and then looking a little bit further back, Sander Island still managing to keep his top spot in that AM. Steve Pearce, after his great result in Sebring, is 2nd place. Gordon Haig, David Gill in 3rd place. John Tressida and Gronholm having a really good battle there. Tressida coming out on the top at the moment. If we just look further back at the AMs, in the top of the AMs at the moment is Matthew Gerard, Paul Clist in 2nd, Lewis McElveny in 47th, Victor Lund and Lydia Rossa there. Looks like they've had a slight issue, although Lydia is in the rookie class, so that is a bit of a mistake there, the white one. But looks like we have 2 entries into the pit lane, Gray and Rhodes at the moment, so some dramas at the front of this, or on the first lap should I say. But looking back at the front, Thomas Cope is still edging out 0.4 of a second over Oscar Christensen in 2nd place as they come through Magnussen and Beckett's for the first time here, getting them tyres nice and warm, getting them brakes warmed up, and looking down the long hanger straight here is a really good opportunity for the drivers to see them there all in a slipstream effect with each other. But a great start, apart from maybe further down in the field, Dave, of everyone getting through the majority of this first lap unscathed, as we watch Scott Mopes trying to go down the inside here of Aaron Powell, side by side coming down into club. Always not advisable, but Scott just backs out there, and Aaron Powell manages to keep 6th place overall.
Yeah, good move down the inside. I think that was Nikolai Frayne just ahead, who was defending from Mopes in the Mercedes. But yeah, it's been a nice clean start. I believe Alex Rhodes was meant to be on the pole position for rookie class, so that hasn't quite worked out for him if he's already in the pits. But yes, Thomas Cope stretching that lead. This is the closest battle on track. Frayne and Mopes. Oh, Mopes and Powell both go round. No contact. Oh, Powell trying to get out the way, and he's took one of the white and orange Porsches with him. I didn't quite see who that was, but he was just trying to get out of the way, and it was just unfortunate, I think, that they both went the same direction.
It did. I mean, obviously he put it in reverse to move back, but then Auckland, I think it was, went a bit wide there coming into Village, and unfortunately just got caught up into that, as obviously they were trying to get off the track. But Christian Otterholt here, the Pro-Am driver, first outing for Christoph Otterholt here for missing the first 2 rounds, so has already had his 2 drop rounds, so he really needs to get a good result at the moment. But currently around about 8th in class is Christoph Otterholt there in P16, currently in the Pro-Am divisions. But look at that, the start, that is literally just on the start there. Alexander Rhodes again. I don't think Alexander can actually buy any luck. I think every single race he has been involved in an incident. You can see that BMW there at the back that literally got no bonnet at all. So a lot of incidents at the start. Let's see where we go. Oh, it's between Lydia and Alexander Rhodes. It looks like it's before the start there. And we look at the back there, the BMW and the Lamborghini. So the rookie field really getting shaken up at the start, even before they got over the start-finish lines, like it seems.
Yeah, that was a strange one, it looked like, because I don't think Alex and Lydia were alongside each other on the grid or anything like that. But we're now looking at the replay of Aaron Powell, and yeah, Aaron Powell running into the back, it looked like, of Scott Mokes, and then just reversing to get off the racing line. I literally did the same thing earlier in the week in an official iRacing event. I was on the racing line and I just tried to get out of the way as quickly as possible, but misjudged that the other car was going to just try and avoid me. But Tom Cope now leading the way by just over a second from Oscar Christensen, who's shown some good form here tonight. Only 8/10 off the Olympus Esports driver. Mantis is not far behind either. These three have dropped. Matty Chambers down in 4th place. 5th place for Nikolai Frayne, just about 2 seconds further back. So yeah, Matty Chambers a little bit by himself, and we saw strong form by him, especially in the second half of the race with that amazing avoidance at Sebring. So we know he's got the pace to get up there, but Thomas Cope just leading the way here at his home race. Patrick Thompson leading the way in the Pro-Am category, and that's from Matt Wolf and Logston just behind. So it's really close between all of the lead groups for each class.
Yeah, it certainly is, and Thomas Cope is probably thanking his lucky starts. Elliot Hellier is not here, because the last 2 races Thomas has got away from a storming start, only to be caught by Elliot later on in the race. I mean, he came into the box last week and told us that one thing he's really been struggling on is the second half of the race is conserving them Porsche tyres. All these cars are using the fixed iRacing sprint setup with an extra 11 litres on board to be able to do the Format A in a one go with no pits, and to enable them to do one mandatory pit stop here. So all got exactly the same setup, so it's all down to driver preference. So, but Thomas is probably thanking his lucky stars, and at the moment in the right position in P1, and not having Elliot Hellier around him for company. But it looks like Oscar Christensen has sort of taken up the mantle. Thomas not able to get far away at the front of the field. We're looking further back here with Nikolai Frayne, looking back to Loveridge in 6th place in that Porsche there. Great battle out on track, but like you said, lost a little bit of ground as Nikolai Frayne to Matty Chambers in 4th place. Matty Chambers at the moment in a bit of a no man's land. We can see sort of like 3 seconds back from Arius Jomantis in 3rd, and then another 3 seconds back is the battle that we're currently watching on screen between Nikolai Frayne, Loveridge. You got Harry Wills there in 7th place as well. So it's interesting, these 3 drivers, these 3 pro, but not far behind is Patrick Thompson. He's doing an exceptional job there of trying to keep on the coattails of these pro drivers. This is probably a worthwhile tactic to do. Not really getting away. Max Wolf, you can see there, just a little bit behind the Evo SR driver with James Logden after a cracking event at Sebring. Has really come of form now. Michael Hubler in 4th place there in the Pro-Am. But as they start here, 7 minutes into this hour-long race here, we're watching Nikolai Frayne in P5 with as we see there, Loveridge getting I don't know if that was a slight hit coming out of Maggots and Beckett's, but certainly has lost a lot of momentum there and currently finds himself down in P18, just getting overtaken there by Jacob Behrens in our Ford. And just obviously as another side note, we do have another Ford out on track, so the Ford fever is starting to catch on in this field. So we've got 2 Fords racing around the same track here tonight.
Yeah, some people may not say it's Ford fever, may say it's called madness, but Jakob Behrens doing a good job in that car, getting it back up into 18th. I think he had to take avoiding action when Dean Powell had that incident in the 3rd corner on lap 2, but Dean Powell has headed to the pits. I don't think he's going to be able to make it to the end of the race. It's just that the damage will be too much and he just had to pit for it. Matt Loveridge is now coming, here we are, through the S's, and just Yeah, it just
Oh, okay,
it goes
netcode.
round, but I think there was a touch of netcode there. And to be honest, with Matt, if he's going to go round, that's the best way to go round at that point. You wouldn't want to have spun to the outside because it's so hard to get going and get all the cars heading round that direction. So spinning inside is the best thing. Here's Dean Timms, who had to start from the back of his class here tonight.
Whoa!
Power sliding round car. Oh, well avoided. There is some paint missing. Oh, some paint missing off the back of that Porsche.
I mean,
wow. Well
Wow.
done for not rejoining, Dean. That was perfect in terms of rejoining, but that is the other way that you can sit on a racing line and actually be predictable, unlike some people like myself who just panic and go, oh, I've got to get off the racing line. But well done, Dean, with that one, and everybody else for avoiding it.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, with having 52 cars on the grid, you make a mistake like that round Abbey's being still in close proximity. Not that much racing done, only nearly 10 minutes going down. The cars are still extremely close together, and always a treacherous moment, but did exactly the right thing. Kept his car stationary until he had a spot in his relative to come out and basically didn't cause a massive pile up there, but that was great. But looking further back here for the battle, Lewis, brand new to the league, so welcome Lewis here. Just having a little bit of a battle here with Harrison in front. The AM driver just hooking onto the back, should get the slipstream effect down here, down the hanger straight, to be able to put it up on the inside into Stowe, and it looks like he has got that move done. So a great move there from Lewis to get ahead of the AM driver of Harrison in 39. So he is currently in second place in that AM field at the moment. Harrison just ducking into the pits. That's very early, 10 minutes into this hour-long race. Must have some sort of issue there.
Yeah, if you're pitting this early, it's probably to do with damage. But 10 minutes in, if he goes extreme fuel save, maybe he can make it, but I really doubt it. As we can see also how Wills has dropped a position to Thompson out in sixth place at the moment. So not for position in terms of class, but does put a car between Thompson and Wolf in terms of the battle, and puts the Dane well and truly in the pro train for fifth place, and that just protects him that little bit more in terms of not, well, if something happens in that train, it's a big problem, but it just puts some cars between him and Max Wolf, who will be looking to try, well, has joined that train as well. So going to be interesting just to see how that goes. Nikolai Frayne just got a little bit of a gap in front, but it looks like these Porsches will soon close up on the Mercedes, as out in front Thomas Cope leads by 2.2 seconds. So that gap is just increasing, and I think he's been consistently half a second to a second a lap quicker than Oscar Christensen over his opening 11 minutes. So it's just a consistent gap pushing out for Thomas Cope, ready for them pit stops without overdriving the tyres, as Auckland gets a little bit wide coming out of Stowe, but holds it within track limits, so that shouldn't be too bad for him. But down in the AM category, as you can see, the Pro-Ams and the Pros covering the 22 drivers that you can see on the time screen at the moment. So you have to go back to 25th, Sander Island. At the back of this queue, got championship leader Steve Pearce right behind it, but these guys not in a rush to push away through the back end of these Pro-Am field, and just sitting there nicely, saving a bit of fuel, taking it easy, and keeping themselves well clear of Howell and Gronstrom just behind.
Yeah, the points difference for this series is a little bit different. It's not based on overall finishing position. It's based on where they finish in the class. So as you can see there, Thompson ahead of Wills, but Wills is not, or they're in two different classes. So Wills is still currently P6 in that pro category, so will accumulate the point for sixth in the class. So this is class-based racing rather than overall racing, hence why we sort of do it at the start. So it's all good. But looking at Sander Island here, heading out the Anfield over Pierce in second and Haig in third, all in close proximity. These guys, you can see on the timing tower how close they are to each other, so it's very good racing at the moment in this mid-pack. Well, I wouldn't even call it mid-pack, because that's not quite in the mid on there, so obviously around about 25th, so just ahead of the mid-pack, shall we say. But at the moment. Sander Ryland doing a great job and finishing off where he left off in practicing, or starting where he finished off in practicing at the head of that Anfield. But looking further back then at the rookie class, we got Matthew Gerard, who's in currently P36 overall, heading out that field. Lewis, ooh.
That was Breivik.
That Breivik there, was it?
Yeah, Breivik just losing it through Cop's corner, just losing the back end and heading into the old pit lane entrance. Again, not quite stopping it on the racing line. Good avoidance by the car behind, but the 276 is just misses the barrier, pops it in reverse, and away we go.
And there we go. So Lewis McEveney there in 37th, in second place in that rookie class. Just not that far behind Matthew as well, so it's going to be good. As we look at another replay here. Phil Regan getting this slightly wrong. I think that's coming out of Stowe, coming down into Cops, just getting it slightly wrong. Just Phil Regan there. I suppose the good thing about this track, Dave, is that if you do make mistakes, there's large runoff areas for these drivers not to be taken out of the race. So it's only hurting their pride.
Yeah, it's just if you're really close behind somebody in a fast corner losing the back end, it's really difficult to decide where's best to go. As you can see, our newcomer Lewis, the Scotsman, up 15 places, Matthew Gerard up 13 overall in the results. Obviously doesn't mean a lot. This is just purely for the rookie win. And Lewis for Sim Racing Norway Purple really pushing on in 398 Porsche against Matthew Gerard in that beautifully liveried New Zealand car. Just sideways by Gerard, so that just makes Lewis back up just a touch, and it just gives him that little bit more gap. In third place in this class is Paul Klisk, down in 40th overall, just ahead of Dean Powell, who is recovering from that spin early on in the race and a pit stop, I believe. So Dean Powell looking to really push on. He's the only one down in this area of the grid who's doing a under 2-minute lap time, so he will soon close up on the cars in front. But out in front, Tom Cope doing a 57.6 this time. Oscar Christensen 1.2 seconds slower. Only Matty Chambers able to match Thomas Cope. Now, where have we seen this before? Matty Chambers sitting back early on in the race, then starts to match Thomas Cope, then starts to close on Thomas Cope. Are we going to see the same again for the third race running?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think what Thomas's maybe slight issue is he pushes really hard up until the round of the pit stops to try and get that lead, but then the second half lead, you can see in the background there, Matty Chambers doing a move over Arias Jomantas, coming down the Wellington straight here and managing to make that move stick. So Chambers up to third place, getting that position gained over Arias Jomantas in fourth. So he's really on a charge, found his mojo again. I mean, we saw him out in Sebring, was on for that race win, but had to do some rather exceptional avoidance to avoid a car around turn number 3 round there, and unfortunately he got pushed down to third because of that. But certainly got the pace here. Thomas Cope though just smashing the field at the moment. Oscar Christensen cannot keep the pace with him, so it may be down to Matty Chambers to see what he can do. The only man that's quite close to Thomas Cope's time, but he is a bit of a way off Thomas at the moment. But like we said, it's an hour-long race. It's not a 17-minute race as we've just done. So will the tyres come into effect and come back to haunt Thomas Cope, who's currently leading by 4.4 seconds at the moment, but Matty Chambers is hot on the heels of Christensen. So it's going to be interesting to see if Chambers can make the passing move to try and close down that gap. And, where have we seen this gap before with Thomas Cope? I think it was Watkins Glen, and that time it was Elliot Hellier in the Evo SR team who chased him down. So is Matty Chambers going to be able to do the same here? But looking further down the grid, Thompson is having an outstanding race here at the moment, heading the Pro-Am field and really mixing it up with these pro drivers. Already taken Harry Wills, and Harry not being able to make the position back. Oh, what's that?
That's Frayne. That was Nikolai Frayne getting it all wrong through Farm Corner and heading off right. Managed to keep it out of the gravel because there's a bit of gravel out there. This is him coming through final corner, building up the speed onto the pit straight, and all's fine here. And then he just turns into turn 1 at Abbey. Here we go, down through Abbey corner, slightly offline, gets onto the grass at Farm, spits himself out, gets on the grass, luckily a bit of tarmac to rejoin off, and he rejoins nice and safely, but loses 2 positions in the race, but not in the class. So that will be no change for Nikolai Frayne in terms of point scoring, but obviously not ideal getting all the rubbish on your tyres. Oh, sorry, no, Harry Wills does make it past though. Patrick Thompson now leads this sort of pack from 5th place onwards, 9 seconds ahead. So I'm not expecting that gap to come flying down or anything like that. So it's going to be tough to see. This is Michael Hooper, who was still having a great run last time out, coming down into Brooklands, keeps it going round, and is he just going to lose it back? Just gets sideways there, and runs a little bit wide, and not a lot happening there. Just, wide onto the gravel, but that will just pick him up at an instant point, and he'll be away and gone as Patrick Thompson. Michael Hooper has actually made it past Nikolai Frayne, who's falling back now from this pack. Thompson and Wills have pulled away to the sound of 1.5 seconds on this lap, and now the Nikolai Frayne train is now just from 8th overall down to about 13th with Bob Humphrey.
Yeah, you got Hooper there in 7th. That's heading out that sort of peloton there, mid-pack. You can see all the way down. As we look at Matt Loveridge again, involved in another incident, coming down here into Brooklands. Does he take it a little bit too wide? He gets out. Oh, literally spins it out. Matt's not having the best of the rounds here. We saw him have that slight incident coming out of Beckett's, coming into Chapel. And again, he's spun it round coming into Brooklands. But his teammate Thomas Cope there is streaking away 5.3 seconds, but Matty Chambers has managed to get past Oscar Christiansen for that 2nd place overall and is actually starting to pull away. So it's going to be interesting now to see if Matt can close down that lead that Thomas Cope has managed to give himself. We should expect to see the drivers in for their pit stops around about the half hour to 35-minute mark here. So pretty much midway, and that will always, as it always does, throw in a lot of controversy and a lot of changing of places. So just wait out for them around the pit stop. This race is certainly not over by a long shot, as we got Chariot Shamantas in 4th place, looking at the back of Oscar Christensen, and Oscar's really fallen off the pace in the last couple of laps here, and seems to be going the wrong way down the grid, Dave.
Yeah, if you're wondering why the gap is now 2.7 seconds, almost 3 seconds, these two were side by side throughout Beckett's and Maggots, and you may have heard me in the background wincing because I was expecting to see a flying Mercedes in the background, but they managed to keep it clean, and Mantis just got the run out of Copse Corner. We'll see it here, gets a run out of Copse and just heads down side by side through the S's, but Oscar Christensen is really starting to struggle, maybe just overheating the tyres, pushing a little bit too hard. Here you can see Mantis has a look up the inside. This is a risky move, but they managed to keep it clean and go side by side throughout. Christensen starts fighting back, and this is the point which I missed, thinking, oh, are we actually going to have 2 Mercedes coming out the corner heading the right way? But we do, and it was great racing between the two. But Mantis really needs to get past Christensen quickly, because it's really starting to hold him up, even though they do have a nice 7.7 seconds gap back to Thompson, but that gap is coming down.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you can see the gap there, like how quickly it's opened up between Chambers and Christensen. 3.2 seconds now, the gap between them two, and RS needs to make a move. But we're currently watching Max Wolf in P9, currently 3rd in class, having a bit of a battle here with James Logden. Logden just managing to get up the inside here of Copse and just backs out probably. In fact, we're looking at Scott Mopes going side by side in there, and that's the problem with going side by side into Copse. You lose a lot of speed, and Scott Mopes says thank you very much, makes easy passing work of Max Wolf. and James Logden has seemed to come off and now does have that pro driver in between himself and his challenger Max there. We're looking just in the background with that performance link in between him, the pro. But will Scott make a move here coming into Stowe, looking for it? He was a bit tentative there, but then decided to make the move. Is he going to be able to make it stick? I don't think he is, and James does have that inside line. But Scott Mokes comes into the pits here, 23 minutes and 46 seconds, so a relatively early stop there from Scott Mokes.
Yeah, that's a bit of a sensible choice by Scott Mokes. He obviously was involved in that spin earlier on, so maybe a touch of damage to his car. He's got to the pit stop as early as possible to pit, and now he will tank up ready for the rest of the race. And he was getting held up in that battle, so if he can find himself a nice bit of clear air, it could be a perfect strategy call by Scott Mokes and the Performance Link team to get him in the pits and sort of charge him through the field.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it looks like Arias has managed to finally get past. But we do have a look at John Trusted here coming around Abbey, getting slightly off the line and caught out by probably the driver coming down his inside there as John just parks it up. Maybe a hardware issue for John there, but we do go back to this battle for third at the moment, and Arias has managed to get past Oscar Christensen. So Oscar been pushed down to 4th place overall, and you can see straight away as Arias Johansson's got past him, that timing tower just going up and up, near enough half a second at the moment, creeping towards 0.6 of a second the gap. So Oscar really struggling at the moment, and maybe just be conserving a little bit of tyre where to give him a little bit more at the end of the race, but certainly going the wrong way down the field. But we look back at the 3rd place in the Pro-Am, James Logden, who's got Nikolai Frayne, and he's another one that seems to be going the wrong way down the field. We did see an earlier incident with Nikolai just getting it slightly wrong as he come through the farm corner, getting pushed out wide. Didn't lose many places, but ever since then, there seems to be an issue with that Mercedes car, so struggling a little bit, and James is eyeing up a pro victim here 25 minutes into this race.
Yeah, Logston really needs to try and make this move because Hooper and Thompson are off down the road. We've got our first visitor, Auckland, back into the pit. So he's coming in probably because he saw the previous lap that Mokes pitted. So he's just trying to cover him off. Feels like he's getting held up a little bit, doing 56s on the last lap. But that's including the cut at the pit lane. And then we'll see where he comes out. This is the battle of Simon Modelek and Daniel Ludwig and Jimmy Vark and Sol and Rance. As we keep saying, these battles just go on and on and on. But this is actually a situation which Steve Pearce seems to have lost out on, because he is now down in 29th place. Well, he was right behind Sander Ireland earlier, so I don't think that's enough time for pit stop. So has something happened to Steve Pearce at some point?
Could quite possibly have. Sander Island still heading out. No, in fact, Sander Island second. Gordon Haig has taken up the mantle of leading that class. David Gill in 3rd. And we're just on board with Simeon there in 4th overall in that class. But let's have a look in fact, we'll just watch this replay. James Logden coming down here into Brooklands, just trying to put it on the inside there and getting it slightly wrong. I mean, like we were saying with the classes, there was no need for James to probably make that move done, and what that has done now has really cost him in that Pro-Am Championship. So maybe a little bit of overzealous than that racing fever coming in to try and make that move into Brooklands. But looking further down in the in the rookie class, let's have a drop in on them, Dave.
Yeah, back in the rookie class, Matthew Gerard still leading away from Paul Cliss. Luke has dropped back now to the sound of a good 15 seconds by the looks of it, so he's fallen right back off the pace. Whether he's got an issue, I'm not sure whether it is. But just very quickly going back to that move which we just saw, the incident from Logston, didn't need to make the move, but you do notice every time we finish a replay of somebody spinning, we suddenly see that Ford GT pop up just in front of them. I don't know what it is, but every time Jack Perrins is just there, and keeps it going and keeps popping up just at the end of replays, overtaking him. It's just something I've noticed tonight.
Gotta love that Ford, I tell you. It likes to get in the camera shots, you know. It's like a dodo bird, I think, the Ford. We never normally see it in these racing, but I think that was Matthew Gerard there going into the pits. But yeah, it's good to see the Ford being represented here. Lewis was doing an excellent race at the start, but seemed to have an issue, and this was it. Just getting a little bit too much mustard and losing the back end.
Yeah, so easy to do with the Porsche as well. It can be a bit of a lively back end because of the weight distribution, but easy. The spins we've seen here and spins we've seen at previous rounds have all been sort of fast corners, mid-corner entry, getting on the power a little bit too early for these GT cars. It's very easy to do. Here we look back at Alex Rhodes, who's still on a recovery drive after that instant right at the very start of the race when I believe he was on pole position for a rookie category. He's up to 47th at the moment. He is, I think, still on the lead lap. Yeah, it looks like he should be. So he is still going well. As you can see at the bottom, we have Carl Gray, Dean Timms, Hansen, Loveridge, and Tresidder all retired from the race, or at least in the pits having towed. As we now look at the pink Mercedes of Lydia Rossa in the rookie class, running 4th overall in the rookie class at the moment, and an outside chance of a podium if things go her way. Just keeping it consistent, but behind it is Victor Lind in the Lamborghini. We don't often see many of them in this field either currently, as we do have some pit visitors, Bob Humphrey and Nikolai Frame, both in the pits.
Yeah, it's good to see Bob having a good round. He's not really had a very eventful, or should I say he has had a very eventful 2 rounds, and unfortunately not doing it very well in the opening 2 rounds of this series, but luckily I haven't just cursed him, touch wood, having a relatively good round here. Currently halfway into this hour-long race, and we join back on with that Ford, currently in 9th overall, 6th in class at the moment, but very much in the battle between Max Wolf. Does have his teammate there behind him, although in a different class, the Pro-Am of Alex Scarrett there. But Jacob Behrens flying the flag for the Ford here in the Pro category. But, you know, talking about flying the flags, you know, a big thanks to our main and title sponsor, Performance Link. They are suppliers of hundreds of different automotive tuning brands, focusing predominantly on the Japanese market. They offer a wide range of upgrades such as suspension, engine components, braking, and much more. They are also proud sponsors of multiple MX-5 races and specialise in the MX-5 Mark III for both fast road and track use. So contact them at sales@performancelink.direct for more information.
Yeah, we just saw a bit of smoke coming off Jimmy Vark's tyres there as he... oh no, it wasn't Jimmy Vark, it was Håkan Julksen. A little bit of smoke, he's flashing his lights to try and get past Chris Rance, who's in the lower category to him, but he was a bit sideways through Luffield, which probably explains how Chris managed to make it through. But these guys just ahead of the pit stop crew of Nikolai Frane and Borkland, so just shows you that you get stuck in this traffic with an early pit stop, it doesn't quite work. As I did see, I think it was in about 12th place, we saw the driver which we thought was going to do quite well in the Pro-Am category. Oh, as Håkan Julksen has another little wobbly moment, and is just trying to recover it nice and calmly, and he does so behind Nikolai Frane in that green Mercedes. But yeah, back a bit further up, we had the driver which we always thought, you know, we saw him in practice really pushing some of the pro drivers, and it was going to go a lot better for him. I know this is going to... The names... I've said it for so long, I've forgot the name now.
You're going on and on, David.
Yeah, I've actually just... I've completely forgot the name. If we can pick up 12th place, I'm sure it is 12th where I saw him earlier. Yes, it is. Casper Tunstead. We saw him in practice being really, really quick just before the opening round. Hasn't quite gone to plan for him so far in the Pro-Am category. Having a much better run this time, just ahead by about 5 seconds of Russ Fowler, who we've seen fighting for the podium. So this could really be the start of the championship for Casper Tunstead.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, the good thing with the point system that we do have is that it's very difficult for somebody to run away with the championship. It should be nice and close, and we can sort of see Russ Fowler there, currently round about P8 in class, was third overall in that championship. So we'll be losing some slight ground off the guys in front of him. Thompson doing an excellent job, who's second in the championship. Michael Hoopler there in seventh. Who's currently leading out that. So the difference between first and second is only 2 points, and then it's 1 point every position after that. So you can sort of see that the championship can't be won really by halfway of the season. It's should hopefully make some excellent racing. But we're currently watching Paul Joseph Clist here, who is running first place in that rookie class. That rookie class has seen some different leaders this race already. You know, we've had, I think, who else have we had? We've had Matthew Gerard. I think he is pitted in. Paul hasn't pitted yet, so it might be quite close between them two after the round of pit stops. So Matthew Gerard just handing over the mantle at the moment to PJC, Paul Joseph Clist, who is enjoying a couple of laps at the front of that rookie field, and has got a considerable amount of places. Currently running P29th. And Matthew Gerard is down in P42, so a big difference between positions, but the time may not be anyway when after the round of pit stops. It's quite interesting. It's very much been the midfield, Dave, where we've seen all the pit stops. All the front runners are deciding to take it to the limit.
Yeah, they're taking it as far as they can go because they don't want to get stuck in the battles a bit further back, like Scott Mokes is now with that Nigel Stocks Ford GT behind him. One driver we've got to mention is Thomas Cope and Matty Chambers, both pit on this lap. Patrick Thompson, 15 seconds clear of Matthew Hooper in fifth place, but second in class. So it just shows you how much he stretched away from that battle. He was involved behind Nikolai Frayne with Hooper, Wolf, Logston, and he's pulled 15 seconds on him just in this stint alone. And he's now in the pits as the top 7, 8, 9. Everybody heading for the pits. Mantis is the first driver not to have pitted, so it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. But Matty Chambers and Thomas Cope just waiting for the fuel to go in. No changes of tyres, it's looking for anybody, as out goes Thomas Cope. Matty Chambers shouldn't be that far behind. Here he goes, and the gap to me looks like it's increased slightly. Yes, it's 8.4 seconds. A great pit stop by Thomas Cope's crew. And here comes Mantis. He's going to be at full speed, coming up behind Matty Chambers. The gap is a little bit too big, but only 3 seconds cover second and third in the pro category. Thompson has come out just ahead of Oscar Christensen, so that's worked perfectly for Thompson, and he is now well clear of Hooper. Well, I was saying well clear, it looks like the gap's down to 10 seconds now, so he's lost a bit of time in them pits.
He certainly has. Thomas Cope has got a really good lead coming out of, we saw in the last round in Sebring, the two Evo SR drivers of Matty Chambers and Helia just close that gap and really close it down after the pit stop. So certainly learned his lesson from Sebring and has extended that lead at the moment, 8.3 seconds. I mean, that is going to be a hard one for Matty Chambers to try and close down the timings there, but we'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, Thomas Cope out on his own, 8.2 seconds ahead. Matty Chambers in second, does have a 3.2 second gap to himself in Jamantus in third place. So the top three pretty much spread out there with that pesky Pro-Am driver of Patrick Thompson, who's doing a sterling job here at Silverstone. Fourth overall, pretty much putting it to all the pro drivers. Same with Michael Hooper in sixth and Maxwell in eighth place overall. The top three and then Pro-Am drivers are doing an exceptional job just putting it in front of some of these pro drivers. We're watching Andre Borkland there in 10th place, having a little bit of battle here with James Logdon, and it looks like James has managed to get the move done coming out onto the hangar straight. So James Logdon, another one who's very much on the charge here. But you know, this could all be down to the drivers, Dave. Obviously they're going to be really good at certain tracks and not good at the others. So people may be saying, well, how are these Pro-Am drivers being able to mix it up with the pro drivers? Each individual does have their tracks that they prefer to drive, and clearly this is Patrick Thompson's. This and Sebring seem to be the two tracks that Patrick Thompson is excelling at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to get the best result possible out of a track you excel at, because look at the rest of the calendar we've got places like the Nordschleife. That is going to be almost a little bit of pot luck as well, because some drivers will go, no, it's not for me to do the Nordschleife. If Albia dropped, I won't go. Some drivers will go, I love it. Some drivers will just take it easy and get a brilliant result there, because so much can happen so easily. So taking advantage of these circuits you know really well are really important. And this is Andre Borkland coming down into the loop. And does he just lose the back end? Yeah, just loses the back end, a bit like Powell and earlier, but without contact. Takes it easy trying to rejoin, reverses up just to make sure it's a bit of a safer rejoin, and does so nice and calmly. Perfect by Andre Borkland in terms of rejoin, but not perfect for his race or his tyres, causing that spin in the loop. But as we were saying, Patrick Thompson loving this circuit for Nordic Racing. 192 Porsche going really well, and I think it's two Porsche and Mercedes pretty much dominating the top of the timesheets. I'm not sure if we can bring up the cars on the timing tower just so you can see where I think maybe Ford might be the next car along in the group. Who is bringing them up there? Yeah, look, we've got 3 Mercedes in the top 10. Well, make that 2 as Jakob Behrens goes past Nikolai Freyne for 10th place in that Ford. And then you're looking down to 22nd for the first McLaren. So the Porsche and the Mercedes really suiting this circuit here today.
Definitely are, and a big shout out to another one of our sponsors, Green Future Technology, consulting specialists in IT sustainability, and help business transform the way they produce, operate and consume IT services. So whether you're an IT professional involved in IT procurement or work in sustainability, or just interested in what actions you can take to be more sustainable, it will be able to help. Go over to their website, www.greenfuturetech.com, for more information. But yeah, we're coming into the last 20 minutes of this race at the moment, and this is a really big battle in the top end of the top 20s. Cav Tugster there in 15th place, around about 8th or 9th in class at the moment. Does have Alexander Scret just ahead of him in that Porsche. Bob Humphries currently in P13th overall at the moment, around about P5th in class. So it's really heating up in that mid pack. But Mad Sayer seemed to have come out on top. Nope, Sander Island is still leading the AM field there, up in P19, up 10 places from where he started, did Sander Island. So he's still keeping his winning credentials hopefully in place for this race as he comes on to the back of Lydia Rossa, our only female out on the grid. It'd be great to get a few more females into the league to give Lydia a little bit of company there in that wonderfully pink Mercedes there. But Sander Island certainly on a big charge. George Haig in 2nd place overall. In 3rd place we do have David Gill with Simeon Motorclev in 4th place behind him, with Joe Sol in 5th at the moment. Looking further back, and wow, Paul Joseph Kliss has managed to keep that 1st place in the rookie, and he still has 5 cars between him and the 2nd place of Matthew Gerard. So something must have happened to the New Zealander to lose that amount of time and that position out on track. So Paul Joseph Kliss managed to get into the pit lane, get his pit stop done, and still come out in 1st place. So a great race at the moment for Paul Joseph Kliss, who's heading out the rookie class, Dave.
Yeah, great job by the Apex Racing Academy driver. well clear of Matthew Gerard. As you say, something must have happened, whether it's avoidance or a slight spin there for Matthew Gerard, because he was well out in front of Paul Cliss, just with the just one car between them in the class. So a great drive there by Paul Joseph Cliss. Just got to keep it together now to keep himself clear. Up 18 places overall, but certainly a great drive so far. No changes currently in the top 11 either while we've been going through this lower half of the grid. And just ahead of him, Nigel Stock in the other Ford GT that is running here today. I think Nigel's changed car since his debut last time out, and doing a good job in that Ford GT right now.
I think it's an underdog, the Ford. I think it's a highly underrated car. A lot of people do slate it, but I remember driving the Ford GTE, and I actually thought it was a really nice car to drive, although it's probably lost a little bit of speed, certainly to the likes of the Mercedes. I mean, last season that was just an epic car, but it certainly seems to be that the Porsche's now taken back the mantle, as we saw in the timing tower earlier. The spread of Porsche cars in the top 20 is quite considerable, around about probably 90% of the cars are all Porsche drivers, but we pretty much got most of the cars represented in this championship. We got a couple of McLarens further down, maybe more into the Pro-Am. I know Tom Bingham, who we haven't really talked about, currently in P22nd, has decided to go back to his old stomping ground and use that McLaren. But when I was chatting to him in the practice yesterday, he just said the car was so understeer with the current setup that we've got. Obviously all these cars using a fixed setup in this championship, so really not liking the way that McLaren is feeling with this setup. So unlucky, Tom. You're going to have to manage it, I think. But currently there in P22, probably around about 10th in class overall for him. But looking back up to the other Ford driver, Jacob Behrens, currently P10, 6th in class, having a really good battle here with Scott Mokes coming down into Brooklands here. Scott Mokes all over the back of him, and the Ford driver just managing to hold him off at the moment. So we'll see how easily the Porsche is able to get past the Ford, or is the Ford actually got the grunt to keep ahead of that Porsche driver?
Yeah, it seems to at the moment. Jakob doing a really great job in the Ford GT, just holding up a queue of cars really there. And you say it's unlucky to Tom Bingham. He's the one who made the rules up, so technically it's his own undoing on that one. As we now look at Nigel Stock back in the Ford, doing a great job. As I say, new to the series last time out, now swapped cars as well, so something new to even get used to there, as he now goes around Daniel Lillivec, who's just ran a bit wide there. That's also letting Otto Holt have a look at him, but not the drive that Lillivec is looking for at this moment in time. But back near the front, Patrick Thompson still constantly about 2/10 this time quicker than Michael Hooper, but still with that big lead in the Pro-Am category, and just keeping himself to himself at the moment. As here is Thomas Cope, just trying to make his way through a few of the back markers. I mean, we haven't seen many of them, but there is one of the BMWs, which we haven't seen out on the circuit much today, but 9.6 seconds, almost 10 seconds for Thomas Cope now. He's actually extended that lead, and it seems like maybe that second half race jinx has got away from Thomas Cope here at Silverstone, and he will be able to try and claim victory. But still, 13 minutes to go. I'm not going to state things that might not happen, because we know what happens in motorsports and esports, as Thomas Cope now just behind this BMW that does let him through. Not the most convenient space to try and catch somebody, but the BMW doing well to stay out the way in the middle of the corner. So it is, if we could possibly from Lewis have the different classes up in the timing tower, so we can quickly run through who is the top podium finishers for the classes. But in the pro category, it's quite simple. It's Thomas Cope leading from Matty Chambers and Ariane Mantis. In Pro-Am, we have Patrick Thomas leading by 6 seconds over Michael Hooper, who is again 10 seconds clear of Max Wolf. In Am, we have Sanders Ireland Alexander Ireland leading from Gordon Haug, and David Gill just stopping it being a Norwegian lockout on the podium, but only just, as Mollekleff is right behind him by 0.2 of a second. And in the rookie category, we do have Paul Pliss leading away from Matthew Gerard, 20 seconds in the lead according to that timing graphic.
Yeah, that's quite an outstanding lead there in the rookies for Paul Joseph Pliss. Really running away at the moment. But Thomas Cope, I do know that in previous leagues that this is one of the tracks that he really does enjoy and excel at, and we can certainly see that here today. Lost a little bit of time to Matty Chambers there in second place, but only just, but still 8.7 seconds coming into the last 12 minutes of this hour-long race. And just looking at our live chat here, and a lot of support from 2ML for Thompson, Patrick Thompson there. And he did state that he's done a 1:57.1. I mean, that's phenomenal for a Pro-Am driver to do. Looking at the time and tower, there's only 2 Pro-Am drivers that have managed to get into that 1:57th. That is Patrick Thompson and Michael Hoopler. We've got Kev Copeland saying, come on, Matty. Oh,
that is Mollekleff round the outside of the corner, going into the loop, and takes that podium away from David Gill in the AM category. Now this is one which Gill will want to fight back. He will want to make sure that there is a Brit on the podium here today. An Englishman according to his flag, but a Brit on the podium here at Silverstone. He's looking around the outside in the Ferrari, looking to try and get past that Porsche, but Mollekleff has taken the position, and it's a Norwegian 1-2-3 currently in the AM category.
Yeah, it certainly is. And just looking back through the live chat, so Kev Copeland's obviously looking for Matty Chambers there in second place, but I think this may be the position that Matty will be in second. Thomas is certainly excelling away. But obviously to our viewers there, give us that thumbs up for the like. Obviously think about subscribing and clicking that bell for every time we go live. We do live events on a Wednesday or a Tuesday called the pit stop, where we get the driver in and talk to him to understand and just to get to know a little bit more about the drivers. We also look at all the incidents that the drivers have put in protests for this round. So it's a very interesting podcast that both me and Dave do, and obviously we broadcast all of the 12 rounds in this championship live on a Sunday. This is the last one for 2 weeks, so our drivers give a little bit of a break, but we will be back in the first Sunday in November for the first 3 weeks, and then the same in December, and the final 3 rounds of the first 3 Sundays in January. So please think about giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. It always helps us out when we're trying to do these broadcasts. But looking back at the results going into the final 9 minutes of this race, we've got Max Wolf, and James Logdon has managed to claw his way back up to the back of Max Wolf. So Max Wolf under a little bit of pressure here for that last podium spot in the Pro-Am. So James Logdon, he's come on form for the last 2 rounds, Dave, and he's certainly been the one to watch here again tonight.
Yeah, he's had some really quick speed. I would say maybe there's just been a couple of decisions that he's maybe made the wrong way in terms of fights and battles, which has cost him a little bit. But he's got a great run onto the hanger straight here, goes under the bridge which you used to get to the wing pits if you were inside the circuit. He's going to look to the inside. Max Wolf defends, goes to the outside, looks to try and get the cup. No, he's going to try and go right round the outside of Stowe Corner. Will he keep it in track limits? Yes, he just about does. And he's gone past Max Wolf. He'll have the inside of the club corner. Max going to the outside and holding it round the outside. And Max Wolf takes the position back, but Logston will get the run. And out onto the start-finish straight, it will be Logston who will have the advantage and takes 3rd place in the Pro-Am category. As we also have Harry Wills in the pits. So the pro driver falls down the order. He was running 5th in class, 6th overall at that stage. So a bit of a strange one heading. Oh, it must be a drive-through because he's already back out. So, and here we are with Victor Lind going into Copse Corner, the Lamborghini, and around it goes. And will it avoid? Oh, that I think Was that David Gill that
I
they
think it was.
just missed?
I
Oh,
think it was.
I swear the graphics bent a little bit for that one.
I think it did. That would have certainly worried David Gill. Just managing to leave or not get hit by the car there coming through. So David Gill leaves to breathe another day there. Currently in third in class in that Anfield, but Thomas Cope out front at the moment, 11.3 seconds. It looked like Matty Chambers has almost given up the ghost and resided for that second place overall, but second place is still nothing to be sniffed at in this pro field with the class of driver that we do have. So Matty there, 11.4 seconds behind Thomas Cope. So Thomas Cope can probably ease off a little bit, but knowing Thomas, he certainly won't and push all the way to the end. You can see that in third place, Arias Germantas, another great podium place for him. First one of the season there in third place, and in fourth place we got Oscar Christiansen after we just saw Harry Wills have a drive-through penalty. 20 incident points is the limit, and this track really invites you to pick up them pesky off tracks which can soon rack up. But Thomas Cope certainly looks like he's back on winning forms here at Silverstone. But looking further down the class, Patrick Thompson in fourth position overall. I mean, what a race he has had. He's only half a second behind Arias Germantas for that third place and an overall podium position. So he's just certainly done his practice here out on track as Patrick Thompson for this round and really showing his class. But Michael Hoopler there in sixth place has not really let Patrick take all the limelight away from Patrick Thompson, because he's done a sterling job in sixth place at the moment. Still got 8 seconds between himself and James Logden in seventh. Maxwell still hasn't given up the battle for that last podium position in the Pro-Ams. But looking further back now at the rest of the field, we got Sander Ireland still in first place in the AMS, 9.8 seconds ahead of Gordon Haig in second. David Gill is still managing after that little bit of a scare there coming around Abbey to keep that third place overall. Joseph Sal in fourth place in the Anfield with Stuart Pearce in fifth place. So not the best of outings for the Brit there. In P25 after his sterling round Sebring, where he pretty much dominated the field. Darren Doherty just a bit further back in sixth, and Nigel Stock in that second Ford there in seventh overall. I mean, that's great livery. I just absolutely love that. It's typical Ford colours there on that Ford GT3. But looking further back in the AMS, in the rookies.
Yeah, Paul Clist leading the way in the rookies. Still well clear of Matthew Gerard, but just as you were saying, Thomas Cope can maybe ease off. He sets 2 fastest laps of the race, dipping right into the 56s now. And I have just noticed as you were going through that, David Gill back up into third place. It was a Norwegian podium. I'm not sure where his rival has gone. He seems to. Moldclev has disappeared off the top 37, so is he still running?
He's not sure. He's a lap down. He is in 45th position, I'll see on the timing tower. So he's certainly been involved in an incident that's really put pace to him. He's a lap down on the field, so something drastic has happened to Simeon Monaco to give that Norwegian 1-2-3. That's sort of gone out the window now. But I mean, just look at the closing speed that Thomas Cope can get onto the back of these drivers. Just shows you, I mean, there's no difference in these setups at all. They're both driving exactly the same car with exactly the same setup, and it just shows how Thomas has just been able to master the setup around this track here as he overtakes Paul Joseph Clist, our first place in the rookies as well. So demotes Paul down 1 lap.
Yeah, going back to Patrick Thompson, who you said was having a great drive, looking at third overall. If I was Patrick, I'd be easing off a little bit. I'm not expecting your man just to make a mistake, but you've got this in the bag if you just cruise home now with 2, maybe 3 laps to go. but being that close behind Yomantis, if Yomantis just makes a mistake and you run into the back of him, it could be game over, as they both put a lap down on Matthew Gerard running second in the rookie class, sorry. And David Gill has disappeared from third place in the Pro-Am category. Joseph Soul has took over that position. Here's a reckless abandon, 219 Ferrari, too quick in, loses the back end slightly, runs out wide and spins around. That's quite unusual to lose it again after you've already caught it, but that just waiting to get back in just means he loses that podium position for now, but is currently still in the field and still running, which means he still has a chance of getting back into that position.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely hard for him to try and do it. Obviously, time is not on his side. Currently going into a minute and a half left, so we'll be getting the white flag by the end of this lap. But you can see here, Patrick Thompson putting so much pressure on Arias Yomantis. I mean, like you were saying, there's no real need for him to do this. I think he's just really enjoying himself out there.
So Jakob Behrens has just fallen down the timesheet rather quickly, and has fallen from 11th to 16th. So we'll see what happened to Jakob here. He's out pretty much, you could almost say, but on his own. So it's an unusual one. It has been a mistake. Yeah, the spin we've seen, mid-corner power, gets himself well out of the way, making sure that Ford GT does not get any more dents in it, or any dents at all in it, should I say. Which we don't want to see. You know, it's a beautiful car. But also, we saw Nikolai Frayne coming into the pits for another pit stop, so not ideal for him. But back in the Am category, it's Sandra Ireland leading by 9 seconds for Gordon Howell, who's 9 seconds ahead of Josie Soul. Steve Pearce has popped himself up into 4th ahead of David Gill now. So all those drivers got no other drivers between them, so it's all down to them to just battle on. But Sandra Ireland right up behind Russ Fowler at the moment, so it shows a great job Ireland is currently doing.
Yeah, Russ not having the best of rounds here at Silverstone, currently in P9th in class overall. Up 4 places from where he actually started in the grid. I'm just looking at who is the biggest mover. We got Joe Sal on 21 positions gain. We got Paul Joseph Clist again with 21 position gain. So they are our 2 biggest movers and shakers in the field. I mean, we got some big losses out on track. Aaron Powell down 32 positions, all the way down in 39th, having a big battle with Hendrik Harrison there in 39th. He's lost a considerable amount of positions, and then we've got obviously the Matt Loveridge after his 2 spins, currently 2 laps down. Not only 1 lap down in 49th position, 38 positions from where he started as well. So I suppose that's the thing with the pros, they're ultra quick, but they're very easy to get into altercations with each other at the start, because if you look at the timing tower, it's literally split where the pro field is. But looking at one person who has certainly not been split is Thomas Cope. I mean, this has just been a masterclass drive from the Olympus Esports driver as he comes around club here to go onto Hamilton Straight, taking the race victory here. Well deserved for Thomas Cope. Massive lead over Matty Chambers behind, about 14 seconds back is Matty. Still going to secure that, but third place, Arias Yomantis will still get that third, even if Patrick Thompson does manage to overtake him. But the Pro-Am driver has been giving him a little bit of things to think about in the closing 10 minutes here. But Patrick Thompson finishes 4th overall, and your top Pro-Am driver. I mean, what a race for him. Oscar Christensen there in 4th in class, 5th overall. Michael Hoopler coming home 2nd in the Pro-Am with Max Wolf in 3rd, managing to get that after James Longton put him under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and here we have Sander Ireland leading the way from pole position in the AM category. He's got a about an 8-second lead, ahead of Gordon Howell. The Norwegian comes into club corner just behind Russ Fowler in the Performance Link Mercedes and will take the AM category win. well clear for first of a season for Sander Island as he wins the AM category here at Silverstone. And then we have to look quite far back to Paul Cliss, who we can confirm is the winner of the rookie category because he has already crossed the line just behind our winner Thomas Cope. So Paul Cliss wins the rookie category here at the Silverstone circuit.
It's a great win for him. Just looking at some of the live chat here, and one about Thomas, Scott Mokes even, from, it looks like his brother maybe, Dean Mokes. As soon as he's got a bit of free air, he manages to put in a 1:57.0 and drag himself back to P9. A great recovery drive for Scott Mokes there. Got 2ML, Thompson, my man, that's my best bud. Great racing, and that, I can't say anything further than the truth. That was a fantastic race there from Patrick Thompson. I mean, his fastest lap was a 1:57.1. Michael Hoopler again 1:57.19, so only just behind. So those two having an exceptional race overall. And yeah, Haley Banks, great drive, Scott. I mean, it's just been an amazing race. There was quite a few incidents further back in the field. But we can now have a look at the overall grid positionings. And in first place was Thomas Cope, 14.7 seconds ahead of Matty Chambers. Arias Germantis in third. Patrick Thompson, our top Pro-Am driver, in fourth. Oscar Christensen in fifth. Michael Hooper coming home second in the Pro-Am, with Max Fove coming in third in P7th overall. James Logden, a valiant charge, but literally just could not get past Max Wolf for that last position there. Scott Mokes in ninth. Harry Wills in 10th, Casper Tilson 11th, Bob Humphrey in 12th, so some good points there for Bob. Alexander Scarrett in 13th, Tom Stevens 14th, Jacob Behrens in 15th, Russ Fowler in 16th, and your top AM driver, Sander Island, in 17th. Dean Powell in 18th.
Yeah, in 19th, we had Gordon Haug, second in the AM category from Joe Saul, who rounded out the podium in that category. Steve Pearce just outside the top 20 for reckless abandon, just ahead of his teammate David Gill, Nikolai Frayne, Jimmy Vark, Darren Doherty, and Kim Andre Borkland rounding out the top 26. Hakon Julson and Nigel Stock in 28th position.
In 29th, we have Tom Bingham, and the top rookie driver Paul Clist in P30. In 31st, we got Daniel Lillyveg. In 32nd, Nicholas Strom, Mad Sayer, Chris Rance, and Sam Curran. In 36th, we have the second of the rookies, Matthew Gerard. 37th, we have Aaron Powell, and in 38th, Hendrik Harrelson.
39th will be Daniel Slater from Lewis McLeodney. In 40th, Lydia Rose comes home 41st, ahead of Alex Rhodes in 42nd on his recovery drive. Lydia will be 4th in class, Alex 5th. Victor Lind 43rd, Ovid Brevik 44th. Simon Molvek, who was looking at a podium for Sim Racing Norway and making a podium 1, 2, 3 in the AM category, in 45th. Paul Regan 46th, Christian Otterholt 47th, and Tron Tresidder 48th, who we saw retire early on. And then we also had Matt Loveridge, Morton Hansen, Dean Timms, and Carl Gray, who all pulled out of the race early on.
Definitely did, but I mean, it's just been an absolutely amazing race. And without further ado, let's get the man himself in for a quick chat, Mr. Thomas Cope. Thomas, welcome to the commentary box, mate. I mean, that's going to put some demons to rest for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. First one of the season, so I'm more than happy right now.
I mean, did you find it a little bit easier not having Elliot on the grid? Has always been one to push you all the way to the limits in these opening rounds. So did that take a little bit of pressure off you? But and did it make you want to win this even more?
It definitely pushed me to win, or want to win. It's unfortunate Elliot couldn't be here. Just I hope he gets better, and I hope he's well. That's all I can say. But yeah, it's a shame Elliot weren't here to push the pace. Either way, I wanted to push as hard as I could, and we'll see how it goes. But hopefully, Elliot's back next round, and we can have a good battle again.
Certainly did. But I mean, it seems to us as well. We talked to you last week, and one of the big things that you found that was the issue was the second half of the race and the tyres literally falling off on that Porsche. Didn't seem to be the way here tonight, because you seem to put in 2 extremely fastest laps of the race in the second half of the race, managing to get down to that elusive 156. I mean, what have you done differently this round than you did in the opening rounds of Watkins Glen and the second round in Sebring?
Definitely, it was a bit more conservative at the start of the race this time around. I weren't pushing the car as hard as I normally do, trying to pull away from the pack. I was just maintaining the gap and pulling away here and there, to try and stretch the lead. And then towards the end of the race, just before fuel stop, I really started to push the pace, and I knew I had the tyre wear, and I was in a better place with the tyres through the pit stop than I was last week.
Yeah, and obviously I know from looking at previous leagues that you raced in around this track, it seems to be one of your personal favourites, and you always seem to do it exceptionally well, and it certainly seems to have carried on here tonight, mate.
Yeah, I love Silverstone, home circuit almost. I know there's a lot of other guys in this league that it's their home circuit, but I get a bit more of a buzz when I come and race at Silverstone, whether it be iRacing or real life. It's a completely different feeling than any other track on iRacing.
Definitely will be, and tonight's result will obviously help you in that bid for the Pro Championships. We've got a 2-week rest period for you drivers now before we return on the first Sunday in November, and it's at Donington. It's going to be interesting with a grid this size in the GT3s.
Yeah, it'd definitely be good. It'd be interesting. We're going to have a lot of traffic all race. Obviously, it's going to be very chaotic with 50-odd cars on the grid. No telling what's going to happen, but I'd say stay tuned. It's going to be an interesting race.
It certainly is. Well, congratulations on putting them demons to rest and getting a race win here in the Performance Link GT3 Cup. Before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, big thank out to you guys as usual. Amazing broadcast. I have fun watching it back all the time. Tom Bingham for the series as always. Really loved it. Thank you for the invite. The whole Olympus squad, all the sponsors, everyone who's behind the team, really helping to push practice and get better for the series.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us, Thomas, and enjoy your 2 weeks off before we return in Donington, mate. So, congratulations.
Thank you very much, guys.
There was Thomas Cope, our race winner. And Dave, who have you got stood by with?
I'm stood by with Patrick Thompson, who has dominated the Pro-Am category here today. Patrick, what a drive that was. How are you feeling right now?
I mean, words can't really describe it. Yeah, I mean, slowly as the race progressed, I don't know, I chipped away at my time, and in the end I just settled down in a really good race pace, I feel. And yeah, I could just see the gap increasing to Michael behind me slowly, so it was kind of nice feeling. I've been a bit lonely just sailing out there, but yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like early in the race you were stuck in that train behind Nikolai Frayne, and then once you were clear of that, you just almost stretched your legs, and I think you were about 15 seconds clear of the rest of the pack just before the pit stop. Is there anything you noticed in that period of the race, or do you think it was them more getting caught up behind Nikolai?
Yeah, I mean, Nikolai is a friend of mine, and I don't want to say anything, but I think he might have held them up a little bit, and that's why I got quite happy when I got past him. I could kind of just increase my lead, and yeah. Actually, I passed Harry Wills, and he actually was in between me and the rest of the pro-ams as well, so I had a bit of a buffer, you know.
And then at the end, when you were catching Jan Mantis for an overall podium, was the temptation there to go for it, or did you think, no, I need to just make sure I'm not in an incident with somebody I'm not fighting with?
Yeah, I mean, every single opportunity that I could see, I kind of was in my head, I really want to go for this to get the podium, but I knew that the risk of taking both me and him out fighting for a position that does not make a difference for me, it was not worth it. So in the end, I just stayed behind and kept my cool.
Yeah, I think we both mentioned in the commentary that we thought oh, is this a couple of tenths of a second a little bit too close in case something happens or he gets
Yeah.
a swapper on. But yeah, a great drive for you. Next time out, obviously we've got a bit of a break now, and we've got Donington coming up next, so another British circuit. How are you feeling about that one?
Well, in all honesty, I'm so new to iRacing that I don't even own the track yet, so I definitely need to put in some practice hours coming up to the next race weekend.
Yeah, that might be a good idea, especially if you don't already own it. But obviously, a great result here at Silverstone. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, I need to give a shout out to my best friend who comes along and watches these races every Sunday that we're racing. It gives me a boost of confidence that I know that I have someone supporting me from near me. So yeah, thank you to him.
And again, well done on such a great performance, and hopefully you can push that on at Donington, even though you haven't actually got it. Thank you.
So there was Patrick there. So we're joined now by Sander Island, our top AM driver. Sander, welcome to the blocks. Your first win in that AM category. How good was that for you, mate?
Thank you. It was very nice. Kind of a nice and clean race for me. Some errors by myself, but all in all, it was just sailing through the race and try not to screw up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously in the practice you were up at the front of the AMs. In the qualifying you got up at the front, and you pretty much led this race at the front of the AMs at the moment. Did that put a little bit of more pressure on you, knowing how quick you were probably at this track going around here to try and keep that position?
Yeah, I'm kind of stressed when I am leading. It's always easier to just follow a guy in front. So I just try to keep following the pro-ams. And I kind of expected to do well on this track because I've done decent before.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you certainly showed your pace here. We've got a 2-week gap now before the next race, which is Donington Race Park. We've asked the other drivers. Firstly, do you own the track? And secondly, how much are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, I've driven a couple times with the F3 when I started iRacing. And I think I've driven it on Assetto Corsa as well. But not very much. And my main focus in the next 2 weeks will probably be in Nürburgring, which is the race after Donington.
It certainly is. I think everybody's certainly looking forward to that Nürburgring round number 5, that is, on the calendar. But Sander, a great victory in the AM class for you. Before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I would like to give a shout out to Seaman, who lost his electricity and he screwed up a SRN 123.
Oh, no way. Well, congratulations on your AM win there, and look forward to seeing you out in Donington Park.
Thank you so much.
So there we have the AM winner. We haven't got the rookie winner, Paul Joseph Cliss. I don't know if you want to take one more, Dave. Do you want one more?
Yeah, we'll take Gordon Haug, who finished second in the class in the Pro-Ams. Gordon, a great drive and a brilliant result for yourself.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I was fighting it out with my team colleagues, Sando. And I had a bad pit. I was filling up a little too much fuel, I think, so he was undercutting me.
Yeah, and your team was, well, it was on for Norwegian 1-2-3 at one point until we believe.
Yeah, they had an
went down.
Seaman. He had that was too bad. He had an electric breakdown at his home, so he was just vanishing.
So you don't get that in real life motorsport, do you? Yeah, electricity going down. How's the season been for you so far? We've had 3 rounds, and I think this will be your best results so far.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of picking up. I think today was pretty okay. Also, the last race was pretty okay. So we have to see what happens now at Donington, really.
And as we've asked other people, have you got Donington? Have you raced it a lot? Do you enjoy it?
No, I haven't. I don't know if I even bought it. I haven't checked. And also when we get to Nordschleife, that's a really we have to practice a lot. So on both of those tracks, really.
Yeah, I think Donington may be a little easier to learn than the Nordschleife.
Yeah, for sure.
A great podium for you here today. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, the team Racing Norway, and of course Sando, who won today, and my wife and family, who's letting me do this for many hours a week. So, yeah.
And congratulations on your second place again.
Thank you.
There was Gordon there, second place in that AM field. I mean, that AM battle sort of changed hands quite a few times through that race. Had a few incidents with a few people we heard there from Simeon, basically getting it slightly wrong and getting electrical failure. Obviously, don't get that in real life racing, but I suppose it replaces real mechanical issues, Dave. But we've got a 2-week break now, and we return to Donington. It's going to be an interesting race, completely contrast to this one. Narrow track, short layout. It's going to be one hell of a race, Dave.
Yeah, Donington, it's my local in this championship. It's only about an hour down the road. A great circuit, the Craner curves, the old hairpin there to just catch people out, and then obviously the chicane with the huge sausage curbs at the end of the lap. So many pits and little downfalls for each driver to try and not be caught out on. And obviously, when we get to qualifying, the traffic is going to be all important in terms of the races, because you're not going to want to get all caught up in somebody else's battle there, because it's so difficult to overtake because it's quite a narrow track as well. So the GT cars will have a great battle around there, but I really don't see any drivers getting a rest at any point in that race.
No, definitely not. And I suppose where the qualifying is really going to come into its own there. You want to be as far up in your class as you could do, like you mentioned. Extremely hard to make a passing manoeuvre. Certainly from the first sector around Donington, very tricky coming down them S's, going through the old hairpin up through that course. It's going to be a tricky part of the track. I'm pretty sure we'll probably see a few more casualties. Luckily, there's a big runoff area for the drivers to have. But that brings us to the end of this broadcast here tonight at Silverstone. My name's been Andy Thompson. I've been joined by David Whitehouse and Lewis Aurora in the production box. A big thank you to all our viewers on YouTube. Please give us that thumbs up and a like, and think about subscribing with that bell to get notified where we got on, what we've got coming up. We've got the pit stop, the Silverstone pit stop on Wednesday at 7:30, where me and Dave will be chatting to one of the drivers and also divulging and configuring of the penalties that undoubtedly will come out over the incident tonight. But as we said, we got a little bit of a gap now for 2 weeks. We will return in 3 weeks' time for Donington, which is going to be interesting. But for myself, Dave, and Lewis for tonight, good night.